Thank you so much for joining us today for our sponsor-led table talk from Lindenmeyr Munroe. We are very excited to have partnered with them on this table talk so they can give us a virtual tour of their customer experience center. ACUP and Lindenmeyr have spent some time together putting together an agenda, and I do think in the end you will be excited about their experience and what they can do for you as a university or an institution, higher institution. So just a little bit for those of you that are not members of ACUP, we welcome you. And ACUP is an association of college and university printers. We are an organization that really focuses on growing and engaging the institutional implant printers and melt shops. So it's a great opportunity for our members and non-members to mingle and get to know each other today and connect. If you see someone that you know or a name that you recognize and you need their contact information, you can always reach out directly to me. My information has been on the email and it's also on the website. If you're considering joining ACUP, we would love to have you. And this is just one of the many benefits that you will have as an ACUP member.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Candy. And special thanks to Tom Lydon from Bucknell University also for helping to organize and sponsor this event. Tom and Bucknell have been a customer of Lindenmeyr Munroe, and we have a very good working relationship that will help them achieve a lot of things with their wide format equipment in their print production department. Lindenmeyr Munroe is a CNG company, Central National Gottesman. Lindenmeyer's footprint is New England, Mid-Atlantic, Midwest, and Texas. We are sistered by our Kelly Spicers organization on the West Coast, and also by our Spicers Canada organization serving Eastern and Western Canada. We have 71 warehouses for distribution of paper, wide format, and packaging supplies. We also have 46 independent stores that operate as local facilities for local distribution of the same type of product mix. Today, we are coming to you live from our Customer Experience Center for the Wide Format Division in Trenton, New Jersey. This is a 10,000 square foot facility that we've approaching 5 years old, that we have dedicated to education, customer demonstrations, product development, sampling, trainings for customers as well as our personnel. Strictly dedicated to the wide format space. We sell and service and supply wide format inkjet printing and transfer systems from all of the major manufacturers, the 4 major manufacturers in the industry. So it's very nice to know that we have all of the majors under one roof. And we are free to talk about all the features, advantages, and benefits of each one of their independent technologies, as well as pluses and minuses when it comes to each one of the technologies and how it fits your applications and what you're trying to achieve as an organization. The manufacturers that we support from this facility, from the printer side, are Epson, Roland, Canon, and Hewlett-Packard. We also support finishing systems from laminators through tabletop cutters, laminating systems from GFP, Graphic Finishing Partners, laminating systems from Colex and Royal Sovereign. We do a full line of hand trimming systems for tabletop finishing from Keen Cut. We also sell and support cutting finishing systems from Suma and Colex, both roll style cutting and finishing systems and flat table cutting and finishing systems for cutting rigid substrates. Today, what we're going to do for you is a mini trade show, demonstrations from a number of our personnel that I'm going to introduce, who are specialists in each one of these categories. We're going to do the very popular printing and cutting from roll-based technologies. We're going to move into printing and cutting from rigid or flatbed printing systems. And then we're going to move into our new and exciting fabric and textile division, where we're going to go through not only direct printing to textiles for finishing, but also dye sublimation. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to walk to one of our more popular roll-fed printing and cutting systems from Hewlett-Packard. We support inkjet printing systems, again, from Epson, Roland, Canon, and HP. Each one of them has a differing inkjet technology, from indoor water-based inkjet printing through indoor-outdoor eco-solvent, indoor-outdoor UV curable, indoor-outdoor UV gel, and also Hewlett-Packard's indoor-outdoor latex printing systems. One of the most popular printing systems to collegiate and universities is the HP latex print. The reason for that is primarily because this printing system offers indoor print quality, water-based inks with no odor, and giving outdoor durability, the highest outdoor durability of anything in the industry, similar to full solvent outdoor printing systems, but completely odorless and water-based. So these can be used for graphics from floor and vehicle all the way up through wall and windows, and even food service graphics. This unit we're looking at today is the HP L800W. This is the fourth generation of HP latex inks in 64-inch wide roll-based printing. The biggest feature of this new fourth generation ink set is this latex ink is now capable of printing white ink. Today we have Gus Curtin, one of our operations manager for the wide format division, who's going to be performing some printing and cutting applications. And we're going to be talking through those applications and giving you an idea of some of the different things that you can do with roll-based printing technologies for an indoor-outdoor application. So Gus, what are you doing here today?
Today, we're going to do some stickers on the 800W. As Mark said, this is teamed up with our HP cutter over there to do a print and cut technology. Some systems have, like the Roland over there, have a cutter on board. But what HP does is they pair it with an offline cutter so that you can print and cut at the same time. You can have one job going and another cutting at the same time. As Mark said, this is the 800W. The 800 series has bulk inks. If you look down at the bottom, you'll see these are 3-liter containers of inks, and that is for people with a high production environment. Saves you a little bit of money on the cost of an ink. But if you're not printing 6, 7, 8 hours a day, there is another version, which is the 700 series, which is essentially the same machine, just with 1-liter cartridges that go right under that screen, basically. So for kind of a more typical setup. As Mark mentioned, this has white. It's one of the most efficient white systems out there for roll-based printers. What makes it unique is it is about zero waste, almost zero waste system. A lot of times with other ink systems, the machine, when it sets up, when it gets ready to print, it has to purge its inks to make sure the lines are clean. This does not. And one of the things it does to keep the white ink moving, because white pigments are very large and they can settle in the ink box itself. One of the things it does is it pumps white ink continuously through the print heads from one white box into the print heads, circulates at the print heads, and then it brings it back into a recirculation tank over here. And that keeps the white going all the time. Interesting thing about the white here too is you can do it several different ways. This is spot white, as Mark mentioned, or is holding up. That's basically, you're just laying white down. So if you were doing some sort of backlit or window graphics, the white will jump out. You can put it down in different densities as well, depending on how much blockout you need. This is a double-sided print. This is called a sandwich mode, where it is 6 color process, then a layer of white. Is this 5 layers or 3 layers?
This is 3.
Let's actually use 5. So this is actually, to give it complete opacity, 6 colors of ink, white, a layer of black, a layer of white, and then the color again on the other side. So it's completely blackout. The one that Keith's showing now is what's called a day-night application, where that is a layer of color, a layer of white, and then a layer of color again. Basically what that does is if you have it, this is a very common application. As you can see, this is a movie poster. So this is the kind of thing where during the day, you just had something that looked like a poster in a frame. It would look like a standard poster. But at night, when you turn that thing on and it's backlit, it still pops. And it looks great in both ways. It's neither washed out when the backlit is on, nor does it look oversaturated during the day.
Gus, do you want to speak to the unique color calibration benefits of the HP Latex Center?
Sure. So one of the things that makes this system unique is it has on the carriage itself, it's on the very left side of the unit as it goes back and forth, there's an I1 spectrophotometer. And what the I1 does, as opposed to having to do it offline offers a lot of accuracy, and we're going to talk about offline specters in a minute, but having it on the machine helps you calibrate and check color basically very quickly. So if you have a media that you like to run for your walls, for your floors, et cetera, first you load your profile in, which has your running settings, but you also have an ICC color profile. You calibrate the machine to the media you print so that, and the calibration stays on board the machine so that if you print it now, and then you have to go print the same job again in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, the machine recognizes the media and it calibrates that base media to your colors so it will look the same. And that will help you run consistently and make sure your colors match.
Speak to the uniqueness of the latex inks relative to curing coming out of the machine.
So one of the interesting things about latex is we always tell people when it comes out the bottom here, it's completely dry. It is, if it doesn't feel dry, it's not going to dry. That means we've done something wrong and we have to change the settings. But when it comes out dry, it's hard. It's very, very scratch proof. One of the things that's different between previous systems and this is what's called an overcoat. In the previous ink systems, the overcoat was actually built into the ink already, which gave it a very scratch resistant surface. And it's not that these aren't scratch resistant now, but what they did is they made it a separate component because if you're going to laminate anyway, if this is a material that whatever your application is, you have to put a laminate down, you don't really need that overcoat. So you save yourself a little bit of money on ink. You save yourself a little bit of money on time, so it can run a little faster and cure a little quicker. But latex inks are generally speaking, not generally, but when you're running, you can finish this as soon as it comes off. You can take it right to the cutter. You can take it to a laminator again. You can do an install where you've got to be, if you've got a squeegee and you've got to put up a graphic, you can take that squeegee across it right away and you're not going to scratch your graphic.
So one of the benefits here is that you're coming out of this printer, it's completely scratch proof, and you can then walk right over to your offline cutter and continue that process.
So we've set this job up. If you notice on here, there's a barcode. Various RIP softwares and the printer and the cutter has barcode software recognition put in so that if you have several jobs queued up, for instance, I said before, you can print several jobs before you go to the cutter. You can have several jobs on a single sheet, if you will. The cutter saves that job information. I mean, the barcode saves the job information for the RIP. The RIP sends it, and we're good. I think John just sent it. So here we go. It's reading now. It actually has the job saved. It moves around to find the registration mark, goes from one registration mark to the other to make sure. This is basically making sure that the media is square or square to the point where it can read it. It doesn't actually have to be perfectly square. It can be off, I think, 8 or 9 degrees, and it will still be able to correct for it. So this is doing a contour cut around the Fairfield F. Now, these machines are made to do exactly this. They cut vinyl. They are made for making stickers and decals. They're not for cutting banner. They're not for cutting poster paper or anything like that. The idea behind these is to cut decals out like that. They can do some through cutting as well. So right now what we're doing is we're kiss cutting. So it's just the surface. It only cuts the vinyl itself, doesn't cut through the liner. But if you see the precision now that it can go between the stag's horns on that Fairfield logo and all around it, it follows that line and can be very, very precise, but it is only cutting through the vinyl and not the liner. If you wanted to cut these stickers out afterwards by cutting actually through the liner, you can do that. It will do some cut through. There's certain tricks and tips that we teach people how to do that. You don't go as precise, that sort of very intricate stuff when cutting through. But if you're trying to cut out an ellipse or a circle or a rectangle so you can give out your stickers, you can certainly do that all day long. Very robust. Easily can be making stickers for sold for, things in your bookstore or for various clubs and organizations. Everybody on campus, your big time money sports, they all have their own stickers, but there's no reason you couldn't print out, 25 stickers for a sport or club that had a much smaller following for the people and families on that club.
So interestingly enough, we had Fairfield University in for a personal demo into our facility on Tuesday. And one of the comments that they made was the color accuracy of their red, because a lot of the samples that they had seen were not exactly color accurate. So aside from the fact that the printer that Gus said has the ability to do color calibration for different white points on media so that you can have a range of media and maintain a color consistency, we do offer offline software programs and hardware that are designed for actually color matching, which I know is very important to collegiate universities. Justin Van Heining, one of our specialists today, has a Barbieri spectrophotometer set up, and I'm going to allow Justin to speak to color matching capabilities.
Great, thanks, Mark. So one of the things I'm going to quickly cover before we move on to the HP flatbed is the Barbieri SpectroPad with the DOC software, which stands for Digital Output Control. And that's really exactly what this is doing. It's a simple chart that's printed out within the software that can be read before and after your job is completed. Where this is really helpful is after you run a production job, let's just call it for street banners throughout your university where you're matching a specific Pantone color, you have to reprint that job 3 months down the road. You can simply print out this chart, read it into the spectrophotometer, and you'll know instantly whether your color is the same as you did 3 months ago. It's going to read the gamut, the linearization, and the media color to ensure that your color is going to be consistent for your next job. The beauty of the Barbieri SpectroPad is that it operates on Wi-Fi. So where this is really beneficial is when also working on flatbed devices like the HP Latex, you can simply walk the unit over to the printer and lay the SpectroPad on top of your board and read in your swatch rather than cutting the swatch away from your material and going over to the SpectroPad to read in your information. So again, really simple color consistency, color management device that can be incorporated into any workflow.
Thank you, Justin. So we now have the Kiss Cut and Through Cut graphics from the Fairfield logos complete. Gus is going to pop them out of the cutter and just give you an idea what the finished product looks like. Once again, these cutters are roll-based, but they do have a limited ability to through cut through decals, giving you completely finished product that you can hand off in individual batches to your end users. It's actually a perforation cut. But the perforation cut is so precise that if you run your fingers along the edges of the perforation cut, you really can't feel anything. It simulates a die cut. You can combine these packages together, and you can put a complete package together for under $20,000 that'll allow you to do anything from hanging banners to floor graphics to traditional paper style posters. But you could also do vehicle graphics and mount onto coroplast signs for outdoor signage. The next evolution of printing system, good. Gus was able to pick the edge at the graphic.
So you see this weeded out very nicely, going around the horns, the antlers, even into that.
Thank you, Fairfield.
So branded.
So moving from roll-based printing and cutting and finishing systems, which are your entry into the wide format marketplace, and for years people have been using not only just those alone for printing and mounting graphics and making rigid signage. You can move into systems like our HP R series. Today we have an HP R2000P being operated by John Hodges. John is our technical services coordinator here at Lindenmeyr Trenton. John works out of this location on a daily basis, assisting customers remotely with applications, advice, and file preparation and some light duty technical. But John does a lot of work with running these printers for sampling and research and development as well. His baby is the R2000P. He spends a lot of time on this machine. This is a 98-inch wide HP latex flatbed printing system with roll-based capabilities. This is a hybrid machine capable of printing on roll-based media, but also printing on rigid substrates. Machine is available in a 64-inch capacity and a 98-inch capacity, capable of producing the same type of graphics. Today, John's going to be running a batch of a typical corrugated plastic lawn sign or promotional through the machine. And while he's doing that and it's running through the machine, we'll also go over some other applications that these flatbed printers are capable of, like box making. John's also going to be doing some not only printing, but cutting using our Colex Sharp Cut flatbed cutting system for actually cutting out contour shapes in aluminum and acrylic and PVCs, as well as making boxes and custom packaging. So Keith, you want to come back around? Ready, John? So John has the corrugated plastic queued up. And if you look, the corrugated is queued up across the bed of the printer in multiple or N-up printing. So it's capable of printing more than one sheet at a time for the highest level of productivity. You can print as many as you can fit on the belt. And the machine is a continuous feed. So as it pulls the product through, it's going to drop the entry gate and prompt you for follow-up product, and you can continually feed. Makes this style of flatbed printing system very, very productive. Go, John.
Here we go.
So this is a 6-color, high-quality flatbed printing system. Again, a latex ink, so no odor. Capable of producing graphics, 3-year outdoor durable without any additional coatings. You can get graphics with specific laminated coatings to last outdoors up to 10 years, as warranted by manufacturers as part of a match component system. So while that's printing, what we're going to do is John's going to go over to the flatbed cutting system, which is typically an integral part or sister of flatbed printing, and show you the process of through cutting, or what would be known as die cutting, but in a rotary or a tool-based module. Yeah, John.
Okay, so what we have queued up in front of us is a packaging sample for our Lindenmeyr Munroe R-Series sample box. We'll be creasing and cutting from the back of the material. So I've prepped our board over here with some registration marks that have already been cut into it, so I can read it from the back side of the media. I'm going to send it over to show you guys how it works. Good job, Keith. So right now we're reading the registration marks. It's going to begin with the crease layer. Then once that's completed, it's going to switch over to the single edge cutout knife.
John, can you speak to the reason why you're back cutting this graphic?
Yeah, so when we're creasing this box, we want it to fold with the crease on the inside. So if we had a fold that was on the other side of the media, we would fold and crease and cut from the other side. but because this is the way our box is constructed, this is how we have to crease.
So if you're printing on the front side of the machine of the sheet, how does the machine know where to crease uncut on the back side?
Well, you basically cut out the registration marks from the front, and then you flip your design when you're going to crease it, so that the machine knows that it's, flipping the design and cutting and creasing from the mirrored side. So the cut contours that you generate for a design like this are set up in Adobe Illustrator using a specific swatch for the tool that you're using. Lindenmeyr provides a swatch library for all our contour cutters, the Colex flatbed cutter, and also the Summa F series as well.
So speaking of the Summa F series, the Colex cutter that you're looking at today is a 5x10 cutter, which is a very popular size. There's a lot of 5x10 substrate in the marketplace. But both Colex and Summa do make cutting systems down to a 44x64, which is a little bit more of an entry size cutter. The unique part about these cutters is they do have the ability to use the belt to process sheets that are larger than the size of the actual bed. So if your constraint is room, you can also get a smaller cutter that has full size capabilities, also at a reduced price point.
So another thing to note with these contour cutters is they are modular units. So you can replace the tools that you're using at any given time with a chloroplast knife, a piss cutting tool, pneumatic oscillating tool for cutting honeycomb board, a V-cut knife for cutting grooves into the same honeycomb board, basic double-edged knife. There's dozens of tools you can get for this machine to tackle anything you can think up.
And that's exactly right. These machines actually have the ability to cut almost any rigid or flexible substrate. They will cut acrylic with a finish that's almost a polish or a flame finish. They will cut embossings into acrylic. Metals popular in the signage marketplace, like aluminum composite material, which is basically PVC with 2 sheets of aluminum on it. We also have the ability to cut a wide variety of substrates, wood, again, acrylics, and more traditional signage like foam core and PVC, and metals in different finishes. All of these are printed on our HP R series, and we do have other flatbed printing systems that we sell as well. We have a nice model from Epson that actually has 10 colors in a 4x8 flatbed table for photo quality flatbed printing. So Keith, if you want to walk back around and take a look, we have our output coming out on our lawn signs. And these are basically completely durable, scratch-proof, corrugated plastic. Keith, you want to take a look at this? Right out of the printer, the machine has the capability of being able to be cut, scored, bent. This machine actually also has a capability of thermoforming, which is very unique in the industry, in that you can print to a specific plastic that has the ability to have a die punched into it to create three-dimensional shapes. John, you want to take the boxes and pop them out and go through the folding process? So the process that John just cut on the flatbed cutter is really popular on these machines. And again, it's giving you the capability of creating custom packaging. This can all be done with these 2 pieces of gear. Forward.
It's one of the nice things about the latex ink set we were talking about earlier, how durable and flexible it is. Not a lot of ink sets can make the types of folds that this ink set can. Tuck that tab in a little bit better.
And one of the things that's nice about us having this facility here is that John spends a significant portion of his day testing products for customers. We print on things from pickleball paddles to mouse pads. Just about anything that's under 2 inches in profile can go through this machine. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
So the next thing I'd like to discuss, you're standing in our original 5,000 square foot facility, which was dedicated to sign and display in the inkjet marketplace. One of the hottest trends in the marketplace for wide format digital graphics today is fabrics and textiles for a number of applications, anything from things that you might be very familiar with, like you see hanging on the wall over here, hanging double-side flagpole banners. I'm sure you've seen these outside of universities. Silicon edge graphic signage. These are actually all fabrics in aluminum extruded frames. This is something that is capable of being done on your HP latex printers as a direct print with a limited level of durability. Our newest and latest venture in fabric and textile is actually dye sublimation. And it's a process where you're printing to transfer medias and using heat and pressure to transfer them over to textiles and substrates to make a more durable graphic. This is a very hot marketplace with respect to not only signage, but interior decor and display. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the demonstrations over to Keith Sawyer and Justin Van Heining, who are our textile specialists, so they can walk you through the applications with respect to dye sublimation.
Thanks, Mark.
Keith.
And welcome to our dye sublimation center, where we are going to talk about our soft items as well as our hard, what you can dye sublimate to. We wanted to showcase all the things that you can do in this line. This is our Pongs line. We use this for noise dampening. And as you can see, that's 10 feet wide. That's our Silencio 5. So if you're in a room that has a lot of echo and you need some noise dampening, you can use that combined with our Descore system, which is the framework, and really get some noticeable results as far as dampening of noises. Also, this is our another fabric that we have for 5 meter wide. This was printed UV, just to give it a softer feel in the room.
Keith, how's this actually affixed to the wall?
It's through our Descore system. Once again, it's a system where you use a tool and you guide it into this little channel and grips it very tightly, and you can really pull it tight and it looks great.
Justin, you want to show a real quick demonstration on the Fabric-Tac?
Absolutely. If you come over this way, so we are the North American distributor for the Pongs textiles. And the reason that's so important is that their textiles are completely universal, meaning that they work on latex ink, UV ink, and dye sublimation ink. Over here, we're showcasing the Descore system, which is the track system manufactured by Pong to go ahead and hold these textiles. The system includes a PVC profile, an acoustic infill, and then your textile. The acoustic infill, you also have the ability to print on it. So these are very popular when hanging them from ceilings in cafeterias, workspaces, warehouses, to take some of the sound out of your room. Over here, if you look at this wall, you'll see a little bit of a larger wall and how it's actually installed. It is a very simple system, and you're able to create a lot of elaborate applications. But all it is a fabric graphic PVC infill, and you're tucking the fabric into the track with a spatula. All the excess fabric is then trimmed off, and then there's a final tuck to give it this clean appearance. So as you're walking through this room, please take into consideration that everything here is textiles, and it's being used in this track system with also the infill to create a very acoustic and sound environment.
So Justin, what do you do to actually make this fabric graphic in a dye sublimation process?
So we have two, with the Pongs, again, we have a very universal textile for latex, UV, and sublimation. With the sublimation, you have the ability to direct print onto the textile and then heat fixate it, or print on transfer paper. In both applications, you're taking ink, putting it onto the media, and then heating it. And the way sublimation works is that it's always printed on polyester. And this goes with soft goods as well as hard goods. And as that ink heats up to 400 degrees, it then turns into a gas and fixates onto the material. We're going to briefly cover each of the three brands that we represent in sublimation, which would be HP, Epson, and Roland. Here's the HP Stitch S500. The unique ability that this machine has over some of the other models that we have in the showroom is you can print directly onto the textile. So here you'll see the Pong's Acoustico product, which is a pebble grain textured fabric that has a very high acoustic sound rating. So we can direct print onto the textile, and then we can heat fixate it on our sublimation press to get the output. One of the things you'll notice is that how dull the material is before sublimation. And this really kind of is, I'd say, the secret, the chemistry behind this process, where you can get very bright, extremely high density colors. So with the HP line, we also represent the S1000, which gives us the 126-inch printer. So we go all the way up to 3.2 meters. We have our Epson and then our Roland printers that are high quality transfer dye sublimation printers.
So your dye sublimation transfer is printing onto a transfer paper. And as Justin said, it's kind of a lackluster image when it's printed on the transfer paper. But under a little bit of heat and pressure, it'll turn into something like this, where this is basically just a stretch fabric on a frame. And if you look up at what Keith was just showing, that would be an example of a backlit graphic where you're hanging on a frame with an LED backlighting. You'll see a lot of that in airports and retail. So what's the next step? If you print on this transfer media, what do you do with it next?
Yep. So that's going to be the next step, which is the heat fixation. Okay. So the beauty of sublimation, especially when you're looking at a transfer type machine, is you're using one printer and one set of paper, and then you can produce a various amount of applications. So we're going to highlight two machines from our partner, Monte Antonio. One being a flat press, where you use a flat heated plate to come down and heat fixate your goods. And this is very helpful for metal substrates. So before we talk about the other, we're going to go through the process of actually sublimating this. These presses, although this one is a little bit large and it's a production model, these are offered all the way down to 16 inches by 20 inches. So you can produce photo panels, keychains, coasters, mouse pads, anything that's smaller on that 16 by 20 scale.
And we do have desktop style dye sublimation printers as well.
Absolutely. So we have printers all the way down to 24 inches and all the way up to 126 inches. So what we're doing here, here's our transfer paper. We're going to simply lay down the metal, center it onto the sheet, and we're going to press this for 410 degrees for approximately 2 minutes.
So this is a pretty industrial press.
This is a hydraulic press, really designed for hard goods sublimation for metal prints. So while this is pressing, we're going to take a quick walk over here to another machine. This is what I'd like to refer to as a hybrid machine or a table machine. So instead of using a flat press, we're using a cylinder that's filled with oil. So this is considered a calendar with a table. The things that you can produce with this are really pretty much endless. And it's really primarily focused on pre-sewn goods where you're not doing any of the finishing. One thing you'll see here is a mouse pad. Another very popular item, especially right now, is face masks. So in this case, with this hybrid machine, you're printing rolls of transfer paper, like we have right here, but this would be in roll form. They're feeding into the machine, and as the paper is feeding into the machine, you're simply laying down your goods as they go into the machine, and as they exit, they're finished. A nice example of a nice big finished product that's extremely popular, especially in the gifting market and personalization market, are blankets. So you can see here we have a pre-sewn blanket that was go ahead and sublimated. You can print, again, one roll of transfer paper, and somebody can sit here and just lay their goods down on the machines. This is very popular for socks, apparel, onesies, baby bibs, ties. They pretty much make any pre-sewn good now in a polyester content where you can go ahead and do sublimation. What you're looking at now is a natural handbag that has very little percent polyester, but it gives you a very nice vintage kind of look to your product.
So Justin, this is just basically all printed on the same printer, and your difference is the transfer press.
Absolutely. So everything you see here was printed on our Epson printer, on our Coldenhove HTR 3500 transfer paper, and then you can go ahead and produce a variety of applications. Here you're looking at a koozie, right? Another very popular item that people make for special occasions, events that are very helpful.
So the same type of press that you would see pressing ball caps and jerseys, and it's a similar process.
Absolutely. And the other interesting thing too is you also have the ability to do mugs, thermoses, anything with these round forms. You can buy additional attachments for your heat press to do these odd shaped items. So we can take a walk back over here to our flat press. You can see now we have our finished good. You'll also notice that a lot of the ink from the transfer paper came off during the sublimation process and is now part of the Chromolux panel. One of the big benefits of the Chromolux panels is that they're extremely durable. They're scratch resistant, graffiti resistant. They can be cleaned with harsh chemicals like bleach. Very good for hospitals and other school environments where things need to be cleaned with harsh chemicals for germs in a controlled environment.
Justin, you want to go speak to some of the actual samples that you've produced so they can see what a finished product would look like?
Sure. So over here we have our Chromolux wall on various substrates. So not only do they produce high quality photographic materials on metal, but they also do a variety of thick hardboards, plastics. They also make countertops, matte finishes, textured finishes. So really the possibilities are endless. If we can kind of pan around, you'll notice a natural wood board on the wall that are also sublimated.
So you can do keychains and iPhone cases.
Correct. Another very popular item, toasters. There's also exterior metal for outdoor applications. The metal is coated with a special UV resistant coating to get an outdoor durability of between 3 and 5 years, depending on your ink set.
Thank you. So some of the other items I'm looking around as we're standing in this room, Keith, if you'd like to turn around, the actual decor in this room, the curtains, if you want to pan into the conference room, Keith, and show the lampshades, wall coverings. These are just all typical dye sublimation type products.
Yep. And as we walk into the conference room, again, this room is done with the Descore system, but this is done in a paneling system. Everything in this room was produced on our 3-meter machine, unlike the large walls that you saw in our main room, which were done on a 5-meter or 16-foot machine. So you will notice certain vertical seams that are almost invisible from certain angles, but there is an ability to produce long spans of printed graphic using narrow width printers. It's just it's a different part of the installation process of producing seams. But again, they're almost invisible, but it gives you the ability to go out there and replace similar markets where wall vinyl or phototext type materials are very popular. It gives you a much cleaner installation without the overlapping and seams of certain materials.
And one of the things I noticed when I walk into this room is the acoustics change immediately.
Absolutely. And that's really the benefit. Using the textiles with the acoustic infill, very, very popular in hospitality, retail, restaurants, conference rooms. It really does change the environment and gives you a much cleaner atmosphere once entering the room.
Okay, so I get the whole Chromolux thing and the transferring to pre-converted socks and masks and coasters, but we're looking at a lot of product here like window decor and lampshades. What do you do for finishing of that type of product when it comes off as a transfer fabric?
So we'll take a walk to the other side of the room. We do offer a large variety of finishing equipment, including sewing and cutting systems. If we take a quick look over here to our left, we offer an automated Suma laser cutter, right? So we also, this goes all the way up to 126 inch in width. This is a smaller 70-inch model, but it gives you the ability to cut difficult textiles that would require heat to seal the edge.
So there's no fray when cutting using a laser.
Correct. And it's very accurate, and you're able to produce high outputs of volume. So besides the automated cutting solutions, we do offer sewing machines. So we start with very introductory level industrial machines. Over here, we have our single needle walking foot Juki. With this machine, we can produce a variety of different applications, like this one that you see right here, a simple step and repeat. That's extremely popular. This is simply done by sewing a 3-inch pole pocket on the top and bottom, and you produce a very beautiful step and repeat that can be used for conferences, conventions, in meetings. With that same sewing machine, you also have the ability to sew on your very thick, durable outdoor vinyls. So your 18-ounce vinyls, your 13-ounce PVC that you're using throughout the universities and campuses to show your pole banners and anything outside. The same machine, just like this, you can produce also your vinyl banners and displays. Right behind us, you'll see another big popular. This is the pop-up display. With the pop-up display and some of these also, other hardwares, I'm going to allow Keith to get into some of the interesting entry-level applications. We do offer all varieties of hardware solutions, from banner stands to literature stands to outdoor displays.
So if you didn't want to sew, you do make fixtures that will work without sewing.
We sure do. Yeah. So where you would usually sew in this SCG gasket to get an SCG frame, you all are probably pretty familiar with that. You fold it over and then it goes into a channel. The difficulty with this process is you've got to be very accurate in regards to your cuts and where you sew your bead, or your keter, it's called, which is the gasket. There's a system that SignComp has come up with. It's their keterless system or beadless system, where you can just cut a rough square of what the size is that you want to feed. And then it's got an internal gripping system that you just use your tool here, and you can just tuck it in without sewing any additional sewing. So you're going from print to right here to cut to here. And it's a wonderful system, as you can see. And you can get these in any size you want. Up to, like, this is a great example over here, Keith. This is a keter system, but these right here, sorry. Very similar. You could get something up to this size, even bigger.
Thanks, Keith.
You got it.
So if you notice some of the things that are around the sewing system, there's quite a few racks that are holding rolls of media. There's also behind the HP 126-inch printer, a very popular tool these days. This is a product called an on-a-roll lifter. A lot of these items, even in the 64-inch roll, can get a little heavy. So we sell a complete line of basically miniature forklifts that are designed to lift rolls of media up to a workable height when loading media on printers. And again, can be used even up to the 64-inch printers. Doesn't have to be a 10-footer. We sell racking systems like the bull rack for up to 126-inch rolls, but we also sell these in rolling carts, wall-mounted carts. We sell heat presses for mugs and hats and cups. Everything to be involved in wide format production. I think we're pretty much concluded with our demonstrations of the equipment, and I'd like to thank you for taking the time for attending our virtual demonstrations and open it up to a Q&A section. We're running way ahead of schedule. We've done really well here. So if we have any questions, happy to answer. Candy?
Oh, thank you guys so much. That was absolutely wonderful. Tom and I had the privilege of doing this a little earlier, the same tour, and it gets better every time. So good job. Thank you very much. I would just encourage everyone to ask their questions. You can do it by either putting it in your chat box, and I can share that with the Lindenmeyr gang, or you can raise your hand using the function at the bottom of your screen called reactions. And if you raise your hand, I'll just go through and call on you, and you can unmute and ask your question. So I'll leave it open to the floor. Here. So we have a question that says, does the newer HP printers still use the Flexi software?
Good question. So the 300 series printers, which are still in the HP latex lineup, which are the entry-level to mid-level printers, come standard with HP versions of Flexi software. You can also drive those printers with other third-party RIP softwares from popular companies like Onyx and Caldera. The newer HP 700 and 800 printers, which is the 4th generation HP latex printer, they now come standard with a product from Onyx called Onyx Go.
Okay, so I have Wesley Gregg says, I don't have a mic today, but I would like to know more about the Keter system. I think that's what he called them.
Okay. So there's two different styles of producing graphics for frame graphics like we were talking about. Justin, you want to grab that graphic again, the sign comp? As Keith was saying, there's Keter and Keter-less graphics for aluminum sign frames. What the Keter is basically, you'll hear it called gasket as well. It's a piece of silicone that's part of an SEG graphic, or silicon edge graphic system, that's sewn into the edge of a fabric, and then that graphic is what holds the graphic. That Keter is what holds the graphic into the frame. We now have a product from a company called SignComp for companies that don't want to use Keter and don't want to be involved in sewing. The frame itself, thank you very much, Keith, is a little bit more money, but it has a gasketless system that allows you to push product down into the frame without a Keter.
Yes. Wesley said you did. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
So our next question is, do you have a list of the machines you showcased during the tour to provide to the audience?
We can absolutely provide you that. We also at lmwide.com have a newly established website that has virtual demonstrations of everything that we've talked about today, which is also very helpful. One of the things that I didn't mention, our team at Lindenmeyr Munroe Wide Format, including everybody that's in this room, is involved daily in customer installations and trainings on every piece of equipment that we sell and support. It's either installed and trained to customer satisfaction by a Lindenmeyr employee, or it's a product sometimes in the higher end of the food chain that is installed and trained directly by the manufacturers like HP and Epson. So we offer custom profiles for every media that we sell and distribute through any of our Lindenmeyr distribution centers. So this is a full service one-stop shop.
And I also want to just add that Mark's information, as well as a link to the Lindenmeyr website he just mentioned, will be added to our website Table Talk page, so you can go out there and get a direct email and phone number for Mark and his team if you would like to contact them directly.
And we also, Candy, have like Tom and his group at Bucknell, we have a wide group of collegiate and university customers that I'm sure would be happy to give us testimonials.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. So let's see, we have a couple more. We have one that says, which has more opaque white, the latex or UV?
So opaque white, they are pretty similar. The HP will get you a more opaque white in less passes through the machine than typical UV. And the other thing that the HP latex white has that's very unique, because it's not a UV curable ink, it doesn't need to have any photo initiators in it to cure. It's cured with heat. Because of that, the ink is a very blue white, and it stays that color throughout the life of its lifespan. Where most UV cured white inks, over a period of time, usually within 1 to 2 years, will begin to yellow. So HP does have a significant advantage in their white latex ink.
Yeah, I think the other thing to note real quick, Mark, also with the white ink on the latex is that unlike UV, latex is very smooth and flat. UV is building layers of ink and it's solidifying as it's printing. Where this is really important is on window graphics where you're adding white and you have close interaction with the viewer. It's a much smoother, softer appearance, not as aggressive as the UV ink.
Yes, good point. Thank you, Justin. Good question. Please keep the questions coming. We love Q&A.
All right, so I have another one from Dave Weber. He says, incredible facility you have. Wish you guys were out here on the West Coast. We have an Epson S40, and we are considering adding a graphic tech type cutter to our system. Is it difficult to adapt our Onyx software, RIP, for the GraphTech?
No, it's not. It's actually very seamless. Epson partners with GraphTech for their print and cut systems. So if you were to purchase a new S4600 today as a print and cut solution from Epson, it would come with the GraphTech cutter as part of the package, as well as the Onyx software. So your integration there would be pretty seamless.
All right. All right, so far that is the questions that we have. Mark, I was just curious if you could tell everyone what your hours are now, or if they want to actually come to your customer experience center, how they can arrange that.
Sure, you can arrange that through myself, and my contact information is going to be provided. You can also arrange that through the LM-wide website. Our hours here are typically 9 to 5. We'll bend the rules periodically for people that are, traveling from long distances. But we do offer personal demonstrations out of here daily. We're doing multiple a week. We like to have as much information in advance of the demonstration as possible, meaning the types of media that you're trying to print on, even providing us files and the type of media that you want to see printed. We also do virtual demonstrations where if you don't want to make the trip, you can send us the files and select the media types, and we'll do what we're doing here today and actually run your products for you in production mode in front of you on camera, and then send those samples to you directly. So it's a nice way of avoiding the trip if you'd like.
Well, that's great. I think that your flexibility is awesome, especially in the kind of time in which we are right now. All right, I've not had any other questions come in. I'm going to just ask one more time. If you have a question, pop it in the chat. If not, I guess, Mark, we can probably start to wrap up unless there's something you or your team, something else you would like to share.
No, I think we're good. I appreciate the attendance, and again, thanks to Tom Lydon and Candy for you guys with your suggestions and entertaining us for this demonstration. I hope it was helpful, and feel free to reach out to LM Wide if we can help you in any way.
That sounds great. You're getting a lot of thank yous and kudos in the chat bar. So I think it was well attended and enjoyed. So thank you again. Thanks to the Lindenmeyr team for your time today. And I hope everyone has a great Friday tomorrow.
Thank you, Candy.